Have you ever stopped to think about the role of faith in your life? Faith isn't about having all the answers. It's about making room for the questions. What if you could explore this without pressure, without judgment, just with curiosity? In this video, we dive into a thought-provoking debate on faith, science, freedom, and purpose. Is it worth betting on something bigger than ourselves? Stick around and find out, because sometimes the best journeys begin with a simple question.
Is God just a made-up comfort blanket for the weak?
So, you're still on the fence about this whole God thing? Well, let's play a little thought experiment. Have you ever heard of Pascal's wager? No. It's like the ultimate game of cosmic blackjack, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Here's the deal: if God exists and you believe, you get eternal joy, peace, and front-row seats in heaven. If he doesn't exist, well, no harm, no foul, you just lived a life of hope and maybe avoided some questionable decisions. Now flip the coin: if God does exist and you don't believe, let's just say the after-party is not where you want to be. And if he doesn't exist and you don't believe, congrats, you've won the grand prize of absolutely nothing. See where I'm going here? Betting on God is the safest, most rational choice. It's like putting your chips on red in a game where the house wants you to win.
But isn't that just believing out of fear? Shouldn't faith be authentic?
Absolutely. Authenticity is key. But here's the kicker: you don't have to start with perfect faith. Start with curiosity. Open the door, peek inside, and see what this whole faith in God thing is about. It's not like anyone's asking you to tattoo a cross on your forehead on day one. And let's not ignore the practical perks of faith. You get a built-in support system, a moral compass that's stood the test of time, and a sense of purpose that no existential crisis can shake. And the peace of mind? Priceless. Meanwhile, the "God doesn't exist" camp gets, what exactly? A lifetime of, "oh well, I'll just wing it." That doesn't sound like the jackpot to me.
But what if I'm wrong? What if I spend my life believing and there's nothing there?
Let me counter with a question: what if you train for a marathon and it gets cancelled? Does that mean you wasted your time getting in shape? Hardly. Faith builds character, hope, and resilience. It's like exercising your soul. Worst case, you've lived a richer, more purposeful life. Best case, well, eternal bliss. Not a bad return on investment, wouldn't you agree?
What about all the suffering in the world? How can you reconcile that with an all-loving God?
The suffering question. Let me put it this way: if you don't believe in God, suffering's just random chaos, no meaning, no redemption, just pain. But with faith, suffering becomes a chapter, not the whole story. It's something that can refine you, teach you, and even connect you to others. Besides, who better to lean on in tough times than someone who knows the big picture? It's like trusting a GPS that actually knows where you're going, even if the current route is a little bumpy.
I'm not sure faith is for me.
Fair enough. But consider this: would you rather live with hope or without it? With a sense of purpose or perpetually wondering, what's the point? You've got one life to live, why not hedge your bets on something greater than yourself? Worst case scenario, you've enriched your life with meaning. Best case, you've hit the cosmic lottery. So, go ahead. Take the wager. What have you got to lose, except maybe a little skepticism? And trust me, heaven throws a much better party than doubt ever could.
Okay, I get the whole Pascal's wager thing, but doesn't it feel a bit transactional, like I believe so I get the prize? Shouldn't faith be more about, genuinely connecting with God, not just playing it safe?
Oh, absolutely, it should be about connection. But who said you can't start with a little pragmatism and let it grow from there? Think of it like dating. You don't go on the first date thinking, "this is the love of my life." You go because, hey, this might be worth exploring. Over time, it becomes something deeper, something real. Faith isn't about checking off a box to get a reward. It's about opening the door to a relationship. You take one small step, and God has a way of meeting you more than halfway. Before you know it, you're not believing just because of Pascal, you're believing because it starts to make sense.
All right, but let's talk about science. What about evolution, the Big Bang, and all that? Doesn't religion clash with, facts?
The science versus faith debate. Look, faith and science aren't enemies, they're like peanut butter and jelly. One tells you how the world works, and the other tells you why. Science explains the mechanics, atoms, cells, galaxies. Faith tackles the big questions: why are we here? What's the meaning of life? Even the Big Bang, did you know it was proposed by a Catholic priest? Yep, Georges Lemaitre. Science and faith can coexist beautifully. If anything, science makes me more in awe of God. I mean, think about it, billions of galaxies, each with billions of stars, and yet here you are, a bundle of stardust having this conversation. That's not random. That's design.
But if God really wants us to believe, why not make it more obvious? Why not just show up in the sky and say, hey, I'm real?
You mean like a giant divine neon sign? Now appearing, God, live at 8 p.m. Tempting idea, sure. But let's be honest, would that really inspire genuine faith? Or would it just feel like pressure to comply because, well, you don't want to mess with the Almighty? God's more subtle than that. It's in the sunrise, the kindness of a stranger, the inexplicable peace you feel in tough times. Faith isn't about proof, it's about trust. If God handed you a roadmap for every step of your life, where's the growth in that? It's like handing in a test you already have the answers to, zero challenge, zero reward.
Okay, but doesn't believing in God mean giving up a lot of freedom, like rules, commandments, and all that?
Let me flip that for you. What if I told you faith frees you? Think about it, freedom isn't doing whatever you want, it's living without the chains of guilt, fear, and purposelessness. Take those commandments, for example. Don't steal, don't lie, love your neighbor. Are those really restrictions, or are they the blueprint for a society where people actually respect and care for each other? Faith doesn't lock you up, it gives you clarity. It's like setting boundaries in life so you can thrive, not stumble aimlessly.
But what if I try this faith thing, and I still feel empty?
Fair question. Here's the thing, faith isn't a magic wand. You don't wake up one morning, believe in God, and suddenly everything's sunshine and rainbows. It's a journey, not a vending machine. Sometimes it takes time, effort, and a willingness to let go of old baggage. But here's the beauty of it. Even in the emptiest moments, faith gives you something to hold on to. It reminds you that emptiness isn't the end, it's just a space waiting to be filled. And let's be real, you've tried skepticism and it hasn't exactly left you glowing with joy, has it?
Okay, but what if I commit, believe in God, and then find out in the end that He doesn't exist?
If you believe in God and He doesn't exist, you'll still have lived a life full of hope, purpose, and connection. You'll have found meaning in the journey, grown as a person, and maybe even inspired others. But let's flip it, what if you don't believe, and God does exist? That's a gamble you might not want to take. Call it a leap of faith, or call it the smartest bet you'll ever make. So, what's stopping you? Fear? Doubt? Or just the sheer stubbornness of wanting to be right? Here's a thought, what if faith isn't about being right or wrong? What if it's about living a life so full, so rich, that the question of God's existence becomes a no-brainer? Just food for thought, served with a side of eternal perspective. To those still sitting on the fence, let me leave you with this, faith isn't about having all the answers, it's about being willing to ask the questions. It's not about certainty, it's about curiosity. You don't have to leap into belief with both feet, you just have to take one small step and see where it leads you. Think of faith like planting a seed. At first, it might feel like nothing's happening. But over time, with a little patience and care, it grows into something strong, beautiful, and deeply rooted. And here's the thing, even if you're not ready to believe right now, that's okay. The door to faith is always open, and no one's keeping score on how quickly you walk through it. So take your time, explore, and don't be afraid to hope for something bigger. Because whether or not you're ready to believe it, you're already part of a story that's much greater than you can imagine. And trust me, this story, it's one worth being part of. The best journeys start with a question. Why not let yours begin today?
What about you? Do you think faith is a leap into the unknown or a journey worth exploring? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear your perspective.